2024 is now so close, you can almost taste it. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I am taking the end of the year book tag. This was created what feels like decades ago by Ariel Bissett. It is basically one of the BookTube darlings. It's one of the ones that happens every single year, and this is my take on it for 2023. Of course, it comes with the usual, can you believe it's actually the end of the year? Can you believe we've gotten to October already? Now that that's out of the way, let's get into the questions. Question 1 is, are there any books that you still have to finish that you started within this year and there aren't? I don't like to keep books festering on my still reading shelf for much longer than like a couple of days or a week. I definitely don't like to carry them within a month. I definitely don't like to carry them over within like a season. I try and get them read as quickly as possible, so there are genuinely no books that I still have to read by the end of 2023. Question 2 is, do you have an autumnal book that you are going to use to transition into the end of the year? And yes, I do. This is Autumn by Ali Smith, and I have said several times that I wanted to read the entire series, season by season by season, and now I have somebody to hold me accountable. Actually, I have two people to hold me accountable. Amelia from Amelia Barlow Books and Shannon from 155 Books and I are going to buddy read all 4 of the seasonal quartet together. We're going to sit down, we're going to discuss them, and let's see how we get along with them. I have listened to some of the audiobook of Autumn a couple of years back, and I think for me, the audiobook was just the wrong format for me to read this book in. It just didn't grasp me as much. So I'm hoping that when I am reading it with my eyes, we're going to get on a little bit better. Now, I went into these books immediately thinking that they were like a collection of poems about autumn, and they're not. This is a narrative set in autumn, and I think it's actually set in Britain around late 2015 to early 2016, just before the Brexit referendum happened, because there is definitely something in there that happens just before the Brexit referendum that I feel like turned Britain on its head. I'm really interested to see how it's going to go for the rest of the book. Question number 3 is there a new release that you are still waiting for? And to be honest, not really. Most of the books that I have been looking forward to that are coming out in 2023 have actually already come out. The only exception, and I've already read the arc of it, is Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. This is coming out on like the 24th of October, I think, over here. And it is the final book in the Bright Falls trilogy, and it is following Iris. Iris is kind of looking to shake up her dating life because she has just left a relationship with a guy who was looking for marriage, who was looking for kids, and that's not a life that she wants to go into. Iris hooks up with a woman named Stefania. She comes home. They have a kind of an awkward situation where nothing really happens. And then 2 or 3 days later, when Iris is signing up to a community play, it turns out that Stevie's one of the actors there too. I really loved watching their relationship flourish, and I cannot wait to get my hands on a physical copy so that I can finish off the collection on my shelf. Question 4, what are 3 books that you want to read before the end of the year? And I have been saying with ages that I want to read this one. It's on my autumn TBR. I know a couple of people who are reading it throughout this month. Lily from Literary Lily told me to read this, so I feel like I owe it to her and I have to read it. But if I don't read Legends and Lattes before the end of 2023, there's something definitely wrong. This is Brianna from Four Paws and a Book Patreon pick for October as well. So I feel like having a group of people with whom I can discuss the book and who I know are also reading it at the same time as me. We might be in different stages of the book, but we're still reading it together. I feel like having that little community of people to talk about it with is going to push me over the line to actually read it. What puts me off is that this is kind of a fantasy book. It is set in a fantastical world with orcs and with magic and with spells, and that's not a world that I usually read a lot of. I don't read a lot of fantasy, whether it's high or urban. So the fantasy setting is kind of putting me off a little bit, but also the inclusion of a coffee shop, the inclusion of like a small town. I absolutely love books that are set in small towns with coffee shops, so I'm hoping that that side is going to swing me back over. I also really want to get to Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I have heard some really great things about this, particularly how spicy it is. I know that this book has got spice coming out of the pages, and I cannot wait to get to it. This is about Anastasia and Nate, who are rivals in their like college sports departments. Anastasia is a figure skater and Nate is the captain of the ice hockey team, and they have a kind of a clash of scheduling where they both have to train on the same hockey rink, and of course enemies turns into lovers. I know a couple of people who've really loved this. I know a couple of people who were a little bit indifferent to it. But I want to see where I fall off the fence. I want to see if this is going to be one of my books of the year, or if this is going to be one that I can just take or leave. I'm really hoping it's the former. The third book that I really want to get to is Love Like Farms by B.K. Barriston. This is like the first book of a trilogy, I believe, set in a really small town, and this one is about a Christmas tree growing competition. And this is filled with fake dating, where Stella and Levi are fake dating each other to convince Evelyn St. James. You cannot tell me that that is not an Evelyn Hugo reference. Evelyn is like the judge of this Christmas tree farm competition, and Stella's farm is looking a little bit worse for wear. So let's see if they can kind of rally the town together, if they can rally the troops, and see how everything is going to go. I'm really excited to bring this home with me for Christmas, to like curl up on my parents' couch with the roaring fire beside me, and to get this book read. Question 5, is there a book that you think could shock you and still become your book of the year? I think Icebreakers could do it. It really does depend on where I fall off the fence. It really does depend on if this one is going to be so smutty that it completely blows me away. I'm really hopeful. I know that Lily didn't love this one. I think she gave it maybe like a 2 or a 3-star rating, but I know a couple of other people as well who've really enjoyed it. And I know a couple of people who said that it's got a really high smut level. And that's something that I want to kind of branch into a little bit more. I've read a couple of books where it's like a medium spice level, and I think I just want to bring that up a little bit more. Question 6, do you already have some reading plans made for 2024? Yes, but they're not set in stone. I have an idea as to how many books I would like to read. I don't really have too many ideas in terms of what my goals are going to be outside of that. I know there's a couple that I'm going to keep going with whatever happens. So I'm going to keep going with the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge. I'm also going to keep going with saving €1 for every single book that I read, so that I can go on a little guilt-free splurge in the start of the following year. But other kind of goals, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with those. I don't know where I'm going to go with them, considering how some of the goals that I made this year did not go according to plan. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do. I have got an idea in my head for my 2024 reading, but I don't know how it's going to play out. I have to kind of play around with it a little bit more in my head. Those are my answers to the end of the year book tag. What is one book that you really want to read before the end of this year? If you'd love to leave me a comment but you can't think of anything that you would like to say, then just leave me the calendar emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.